DAB digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Hawksbee and Jacobs on talkSPORT.
Now, ever the optimists, we have decided to not bring you the news and sport at 2 as always, because very shortly Unai Emery will be unveiled officially as the Arsenal manager. And they said 2 o'clock it will start, and Arsenal are normally fairly precise on these things, but I'm currently looking at a red fire door.
There's a door.
And journalists constantly walking past it. So we await the new manager.
Do you reckon that's a fire door, or it's just red because it's Arsenal?
I think it's probably both. It probably serves as both.
I think it's just a normal door.
But if we're going to do 5 minutes on the door.
I think the most interesting thing is the quality of his English, because that will affect A, how he communicates with the players, and B, how he communicates with the press after the games and try and explain what's going on.
Because in the great Alan tradition, we've heard two different stories, haven't we? Jason Burton, the Telegraph, saying he met him in Paris last year and he barely spoke a word of English. Again, Balaguer saying it was yesterday, he's been putting a lot of work in, even though he's been in Paris and obviously concentrating on the French. He has put a lot of work into his English, and he thinks he'll be able to get by. Although he did sort of point out that it's possible, he doesn't see him having a translator, he thinks he'll blag it. So it's at a Pochettino level, he thinks, when he first got here. And he'll just have someone just to prompt him now and again if he gets slightly lost.
It's just the room to move that he's got, because Wenger didn't tie up people like Sanchez and Ramsey, and Wilshire's still not tied up. Because, if he's only got 50 million to spend, he then has to sort of sell a few and buy a few. That's what you want to do.
Where's this figure come from? I mean, this
is what they're saying.
This is a rich club, isn't it?
Well, you're right. I might be doing what I said you shouldn't do, and actually just discussing speculation. We don't know that that's what they've got to spend. They haven't been big spenders in the past, so
it would be odd if you're being asked to effectively get a team that have not been in the top 4 for the last couple of years into the top 4, then.
Yeah, they have just bought. In the last window, they bought a striker who scored 10 goals in 12 games. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is.
You'd expect Aubameyang to have a very good season next year. Lacazette, still jury's slightly out on him. Ramsey's a very good player. They've got some very good attacking. Maitland-Niles is a tremendous prospect.
Player,
Really, really good prospect. So he's got plenty to work with, but he is going to have to be flexible. It's a bit like Pellegrini. He's saying, I want 4 new signings. Well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Despite what they say, and it's all about what you can do and how you can juggle your team around.
David Gold was on with Jim earlier on, said they're going to spend more money than they've ever spent before.
Yeah, right. Well, let's wait and see. That better be true from West Ham fans' point of view. They're not going to be happy otherwise, because they've already been told this in the past, and it didn't happen. Their net spend was 28 million or something like that. So, but you need assets. Where's where Liverpool have been so clever? Where you've got a Coutinho. And who is, it turns out, dispensable, but you get 140 million for him.
Sure.
So it gives you flexibility to buy 2 players like Naby Keita and Van Dijk, and change your whole team and your whole balance of your team. So that's what it's kind of all about now. It's not just only City really and United are the ones that have that money. Chelsea aren't in that market anymore.
The splurge seems to have gone. When Tottenham spent the Bale money, they had to splurge because of their wage structure. But when you've got Liverpool's wage structure, you can afford to buy 2 big hitter players because you can afford to give them the wages.
But I think that's what you should do.
It gets more difficult to do that. If you get 80 million quid in and then you want to spend 80, 90 million, you're not going to be able to pay the wages of an 80 million pound player.
No, you're not. So you have to buy a 50 million pound player and give the rest of him in wages. That's it. You have to be clever. That's why you need a director of football. You need that sort of model that Liverpool have. United also have. They're like Real Madrid in a way. They've got a lot of flexibility because they've got so many players and they've got players that other teams want, and they can generate cash that way as well as having a lot of money to spend.
There's one doing the rounds at the moment. It's one of those swap deals. Now you normally think after Mkhitaryan and Sanchez, maybe there is something in a swap deal. Maybe they can be done.
You're talking about Martial and Willian?
No, it's Martial and Alderweireld.
Oh, really?
That's the other thing. I would much rather Alderweireld go to PSG. In fact, I'll drive him. I wouldn't drive him, but I'll drive him rather than drive him to Manchester.
It's that thing,
I'd rather he didn't go anywhere.
It's like Chelsea had this problem last summer. Then Matic wanted to leave. He wasn't happy there. Obviously not the only one, but he wasn't happy there. And Juventus wanted to pay 20 million for him, and United were prepared to pay 40 million for him. So, in the end, the club took the option of more money. But of course, you've made one of your direct rivals much stronger, and you could argue that helped you finish outside the top 4. Yeah. So the extra 20 million you
felt Matic was a bit spent anyway. You felt that he didn't have the legs anymore, didn't you?
Not so much the legs. I just think the way he plays it predicates itself to slow build-up, and we've seen that with United. So as much as he wins a lot of ball and he's a fantastic player, you do suffer with him in that way. So
anyway, we're waiting on Unai Emery
some other stuff
to be unveiled. No, before we do that, let's get some reaction to the appointment. Piers Morgan caught up with the Moose earlier on. He's at Wentworth for the Pro-Am, a lot of top players there, and he asked Piers about the appointment.
He's won the Europa League 3 times in the last 5 years, right? If he can do that again and get us back in the Champions League that way, regardless of Premier League position, that at least will be better than where we are now. We're finishing 6th in the table this season, and we've basically been humiliated in the FA Cup. We haven't won anything else, and we've got nowhere in the Europa either. So he can only improve us, I think. And I think the fans should get behind him. I'm excited by him. I think he's what we need. He looks like a really, really intense guy who is just going to take no prisoners. That dressing room needs a guy like that. It needs somebody in there shaking them up and reminding them they're a bunch of pampered, overpaid, underworked prima donnas who need a kick up the derriere.
Not missing Arsene Wenger then.
Who?
You're not missing Arsene Wenger.
Who?
Honestly, he's a clever bloke, Piers Morgan, but he does talk a load of old rubbish. He really does talk absolute nonsense. I mean, we didn't get anywhere in the Europa League. Well, they did get to the semi-final and went out to the team that won it.
Yeah.
That's for a start, and we'll wait and see. We shall wait and see. The jury's out. He's just happy that Wenger's gone.
I think he is. Anyway, Glenn Hoddle had his take on it as well. What did he make of Unai Emery's appointment at Arsenal?
Slightly surprised, but they've gone foreign again. It would have been nice for an English manager to have a chance with one of the top teams in the country, but it seems to be the trend, doesn't it? But we'll wait and see. He's had some tests at Seville, so he's obviously been tested in that route. But PSG was a little bit easier for him to deal with. But I think it's quite a good. Well, no one knows. I think it's an astute decision in many ways, more experienced than some of the other managers they were looking at.
Hope Glenn wasn't throwing his own hat into the ring there. A nice English manager. I can't see him managing Arsenal.
I love hearing Glenn talk about football. People take the mick about it because he mangles the words up. But generally what he says is pretty spot on. And that is quite an astute appointment, but he's right. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. You can speculate. You can say, he's great, or he's not.
Here we go. He's just taken a seat. He's in situ. Now, they're going to take some pictures of him, or is he about it? There's no flashes going off. I think we can head over to the press conference and hear from the new Arsenal manager. Is he there? No, he's not quite ready.
He's not quite started speaking yet.
No, he's sitting. I think they're doing a little bit about him. They're telling you how great he is. Nice red tie on, obviously.
He's going to be wearing a blue one.
Anyway, let's hear from Ivan Gazidis first, setting it all up.
Afternoon, everybody. Thanks for coming at fairly short notice. I'd just like to introduce Ivan to make a few opening remarks, and then Unai will say a few remarks, and then we'll ask you to pose some questions. Ivan.
Great, thank you, Mark, and welcome everybody. Today, I'm really delighted and excited to announce the new head coach of Arsenal Football Club as Unai Emery. I know that came as a bit of a surprise, and perhaps there are one or two rewrites necessary. But as I said at the beginning of the process, those who know won't speak, and those who speak won't know. So I'd like to give you a little bit of background into the process that led us to this point today. We formed, after the announcement of Arsene moving on, we formed a 3-person committee led by me and supported by Sven Mislintat, our head of recruitment, and Raul Sanlehi, our head of football relations. We had some clear criteria that we were looking for in our selection. The first was progressive, entertaining football, a personality that fit with Arsenal's values, and also a record of developing players, in particular young players, through detailed tactical instruction and also through cultural demands, pushing players, demanding more from them. We looked through and analysed, obviously all good football clubs have an ongoing review process, but we looked through and analysed on the basis that every coach in the world would be interested in this position. We don't believe that there is a position in world football that is more attractive than that at Arsenal Football Club. And having gone through that process and series of references and a good degree of analysis, we created a long list, an 8-person list. All of those 8 people that we approached, that we targeted, were interested in the position. All of those 8 people took part in extensive in-person interviews with the 3 of us, and none of them at any stage withdrew their interest. They were interested right until the moment that we informed them of our decision. So we were in a fortunate position in this process to be able to make our first choice, and that's what we did. Our first interview was conducted on the 25th of April. Our last interview was conducted on the 15th of May, and we interviewed Unai on the 10th of May as a part of that process. We made our recommendation to the board on the 18th of May. That was a unanimous recommendation by the 3 of us. And the formal recommendation to the board was supported by a 100-page dossier with references, analysis, videos showing their coaching in action, and a great degree of background information. We then met with London members of our board on Monday of this week. Unai and I and Raul flew to Atlanta on Monday evening. We met in Atlanta with Stan and Josh Kroenke, and Unai spent some time with them. We flew back on the red-eye last night, so we're a little bit worse for wear. But all of the board members were energized and enthusiastic about the recommendation and enthusiastically endorsed the recommendation. So why Unai Emery? I've followed Unai's career very closely since his days at Valencia, and he's always been on my radar screen. Has a fantastic record of success wherever he's gone. And interestingly, one of the noteworthy things about Unai's team is that they improve over time. We also felt, and I felt for some time, that he's a superb fit with the criteria that I laid out. But I think it's very important to move this beyond the paper exercise, and that's why, having taken third-person references from some of the most respected people in the game and people that we trust, it was very important for us to move to personal meetings. And it was in the personal meeting that Unai was incredibly impressive. He came in extraordinarily well prepared, with a detailed knowledge of Arsenal Football Club. He had an analysis to share with us, not just of his ways of working, his ways of coaching, the team of people that he works with, but he had an analysis of all of our individual players, their qualities, and how he believes he can help them to develop individually and collectively in detail. And also an in-depth knowledge of our off-the-field team and how they could contribute and how Unai's team would mesh with them productively. But this wasn't a purely technical exercise. I think the thing that distinguished Unai above all of that, above all the process, above all of the things that you can read about him, was the chemistry between us and the feeling for football in the room. Unai has an energy and a passion, a competitive energy, and it's this combination of detail, hard work, passion, and a love for football and a will to win that made us feel that this fit was exactly right for Arsenal and exactly right for the people that we have working at the club. And it's for all of those reasons and following all of that extensive process that I'm proud and delighted to introduce you today to Unai Emery. Unai.
Good afternoon, everybody. All to be here with me, with us. Also, thank you, Kroenke family. We traveled to Atlanta for a meeting with Kroenke family, and for me it's a very good meeting, very good conversation, with him, with his son, and all the connection together for this project. Thank you also the chairman, the board. We had a meeting Monday morning with them, and also I feel they feel with the heart Arsenal, and the conversation with the chairman, the board, is very important for me, for no better Arsenal club. And also, thank you, Ivan, thank you, Raúl, and thank you, Sven. The first meeting with Arsenal personnel or people are with the 3 persons who, after 3 hours, I think very good feeling for will work together and for will grow up, create a new present and future Arsenal. Thank you, Arsene Wenger, for your legacy, for all the coach in all the world is a reference, and I learned with him all the things in football. My English is not very best now, and I want make an effort for speak with you to the supporter, for explain my idea, for explain my ambition, for explain. No, I am very excited for this opportunity. A big club, a great city, a grand stadium, and also a great player for this work. Thank you.
There we are. Yeah. A statement there for Unai Emery. Not sure whether he's going to take questions. He said, I want to improve my English so I can speak to you. I think he's got an earpiece in, so maybe he's doing the questions via translation.
To be fair, as somebody who struggles with the foreign language, his language of Spanish, I now know how bad I sound.
It's not easy.
It's not easy, isn't it?
If you believe Jason Burt, as he was saying last summer, he barely spoke a word of it, so he's come on a bit since last summer.
But he explained what he wanted.
He certainly did.
You know, it was fantastic. Ivan Gazidis there was brilliant. He said the process started with Arsene moving on. You mean you sacked him? Yeah. And he says, we want progressive, entertaining football and someone who understands Arsenal's values. You mean Arsene Wenger? Yeah. Thanks. It's brilliant. No manager in the world wouldn't want to manage this club. I thought that was a bit much as well. And the Unai and I was very good, wasn't it?
Unai and I. He's got a bit
Unai and I flew back on the red eye. Yeah, exactly. And then he said, I followed Unai's career for a long time. Yeah, that's why you only appointed him on May the 10th. Tremendous, isn't it?
There we are.
Brilliant.
So,
Kroenke family, very good.
If you want to hear it in its entirety and the reaction from Unai Emery, he is taking a few questions, say with an earpiece in, so getting a bit of guidance, obviously, on the questions that are being asked. It's live, as we speak, over on talkSPORT 2. Lots more to come with me and Andy between